Francis Escudero and Alan Tito Cayetano. Anim po sila. And sa anim na yun po, sa aking palagay, I mean, the candidate who met all three, isa lang, si Coco Pimentel. Okay? Bakit po? I'm glad somebody agreed with me. Si Coco Pimentel. Bakit hindi na, parang hindi napasa yung iba? Ganito po yun. Tignan nyo lang ang criteria, no? Effectiveness, empowering, etc. There are questions there are guide questions. Darn it, I don't know where it is. Oh, here it is. It's in the second page. Alright. Halimbawa po, let's start with Greg Panasan. Yeah, right? Effective, empowering, ethical. Dun para sa akin po, hindi po siya napasa dun sa ethical. Integrity, stewardship, reform. Both pre-Cory and after Cory time. Comply with laws, paano naman yun? Nung hinahanap siya, nag-disappear siya. I mean, that does not sound to me like complying with laws. So on that basis, wala po, hindi siya pumasa. I'm not sure that I don't have the time to talk about all three, but this is the failing line. The same thing po for Senator Antonio Trillanes. The kind of resources that were wasted, that were destroyed, as a matter of fact, in his coup attempts, and really, as far as I'm concerned, disqualify him from being returned to the Senate. All right? Now then, that's Trillanes, Panasan. What happened to Lauren Legarda? Well, she looks like she is effective, she is empowering. It's the ethics that really kill. And, what we need is ethics. Yung mga she denies being a political butterfly. Pero nakikita po natin na, for example, dun sa Senado, I mean, folks, I like her, but she did not pass. That's how it is. All right, and why did she not pass? Well, for example, during the Senate po, yung Villar, I mean, she voted against Villar and insisted on a committee review, etc. And then she became his vice president and then voted in his favor. And that does not sound to me like ethical behavior. And of course, she was very much against President Estrada, and then she became his vice presidential candidate, or sorry, the vice presidential candidate of Estrada's chosen person. So that's out. So my God, kawawa naman. What about Cheese Escudero? Well, Cheese Escudero, the problem with Cheese has to do with empowering. And this is because, as far as I am concerned, anyone who is a member of a political dynasty already violates empowerment. Because a political dynasty, brings power into the family, and when you do that, you are destroying the power and you are making less effective the people in the community because they lose their power. You're not allowing democracy to work. And this batayan, this standard, I am applying to all, both as far as empowering and effectivity is concerned. Why do I say that? Well, because first, it's not only that political dynasties are prohibited by the Constitution, but except that the legislators, after 23 years or 25 years, still haven't passed the law. But because political dynasties empirically have been shown to have, and here let me just quote, 70% of the, for example, legislator belong to political dynasties, but political dynasties are related. Sa saliksik, this is empirical investigation. Are very strongly related with lower standards of living. They are related with lower human development indices. they are related with higher levels of poverty. So if that is the case, anybody who is in a political dynasty is going to be disqualified, which made it very easy for me. Excuse me while I shut this off. And finally, senior. So, Alan Peter Cayetano, wow, dynasty na dynasty. I mean, you know, you have Alan Peter Senator, Pia Cayetano Senator, you have Alan Peter's wife Mayor, you have Peter's brother councilman or barangay chair, and now running for Congress. And I think that as a general rule, if we really want to stop this and the negative effects that we have to start sometime. I am starting now. So you know exactly where I am. So that leaves Kiko Pimentel. No dynasty, got cheated, maybe, you know, refused to run with, I mean, in other words, he has shown his stuff. I mean, I may not have agreed with him in his vote against the RH bill, but it has nothing to do with that. It has to do with empowerment, activity, etc. I mean, these people are not saints, but on the whole, the negatives are for the candidates that I have mentioned outweigh the positives, and the only one who has a positive outweighing the negative is Kiko Pimentel. Thank you.
When Ma'am Winnie ran for the Senate, I was campaigning for her, and that was my first participation in the elections. Yes, ma'am.
You have good taste.
I think if we sum up the three criteria, effective, empowering, ethical, one underlying agenda would be one underlying agenda would really be for strengthening of institutions and respect for the rule of law. Without respect or strengthening of institutions, you cannot be empowering, because supposedly you have institutions to support pro-poor policies and programs, and also it cannot be effective because institutions are supposed to be there to deliver to resolve issues and to deliver goods and services for the people. And it's hard also to be ethical, because then you actually decide on the basis of your personal preferences. So I would, but looking at the first set of candidates, I do agree that I have difficulty with Senator Aquilino Pimentel. The rest, I had no difficulty saying that we should not elect them or re-elect them in the Senate. For the same reason that we mentioned, and I will just add later on. But first, Senator Aquilino Pimentel, I think the positive aspect of Senator Aquilino Pimentel is the fact that really he has a lot of potential. And we have not heard any negative reports about him. Maybe my only frustration at the moment is because he was a victim of electoral fraud. I expected when he assumed his post in the Senate, he championed and really pushed for electoral reform. And given our work in the Ateneo School of Government, really focusing on electoral reform, we felt it was not as strong as we wanted him. As he was not as strong as we wanted him to be as a champion of electoral reform. But in terms of being an ethical politician, yes. Also because we have not heard of any negative reports about him. And his position on issues, particularly on party development, signals that he is also for political development and institutional development. So I would say that in terms of empowering and ethical, Coco Pimentel could pass as a candidate who should vote for the 2020 elections. Let me just reiterate, as I highlight some of the important I think, historical facts that we should consider when we look at the other candidates. Although I'm not sure if, I think I don't need to convince a lot of you why we should not vote for them anymore. But for example, Senator Francis Escudero. The Escuderos have been a Marcos crony, and I have yet to hear an apology from Chief Escudero or any. I even think he is in a way apologetic of the Marcos regime. He is also coming from a political dynasty. That's one clear negative point as far as empowering is concerned, as mentioned by Ma'am Winnie. The other, I think, important historical fact is he was involved in the impeachment complaint against Hilario Davide, and the historical context at that time was the Supreme Court was about to decide on the Ocoleti funds. So the link to vested interests, which again would make him really would have negative score as far as empowering is concerned, because being empowering would mean pushing for social justice and pro-poor policies. Loren Legarda, the rest I may not want to. Loren Legarda, you were in the 2004 elections, and she could have actually been a good presidential candidate had she really made good choices in the 2004 elections. But in the 2004 elections, that was when she started her what do I call it? Being a political chameleon, a political butterfly. So supporting GMA in 2001, and then transferring to FPJ, even talking to Lacson and all the other candidates in 2004, and then supporting TDR in 2010. She's consistent in being inconsistent. She's pro-RH bill, but in terms of supporting other pro-women agenda, divorce, she's against. She's strong on environmental and sustainable development, but she's quite quiet in terms of the mining issue. So that's one of that's my assessment of Loren Legarda. And lastly, Alan Peter Cayetano. Of course, political dynasty, and there are a lot of corruption allegations covering his administration as a local official of HIG, and he has yet to really recently respond to these allegations. That's unfortunate, because if you look at his performance in the legislature as a legislator, he actually was quite consistent in terms of being critical against GMA and supporting the impeachment complaint against Luis Gutierrez, and really being strong about that, and strong also against the Corona, in favor of the Corona impeachment in a way. So very consistent on that anti-corruption drive of the administration. But as I said, a member of a political dynasty, and has yet to really decently respond to some of the corruption cases in his locality.
Thank you, Joy.
Where dynasties all over the place, and where for some reason, maybe it's because elections have evolved towards product marketing rather than achievement assessment, that we have candidates who are marketed like products and who present themselves as walking advertisements of things that they think the public will buy, not things that they have conviction. Because of this, when I look at the set of candidates in front of me that we're supposed to discuss, nobody comes off as a saint. And everyone has his, you might say, major shortcoming. So that you will end up, in a sense, choosing between or among a bunch of lesser evils if you really must make a choice. So when I look at the first set of candidates, I end up having to lean towards Coco as the one that has the least baggage. But it's partly because maybe I haven't seen enough of his record. If it is a question of dynasty, certainly his father was in there a long time, so he's got that name and he's got some kind of political clout where he comes from. On the other hand, there may be an argument to be made for certain dynasties which are helpful and certain dynasties which are not helpful, given the political realities of the day, and given the fact that even in many democracies, including the United States, there are certain traces of dynasty. After all, it's Clinton and then Clinton and then Clinton, and then it's Bush and then Bush and then Bush. So, cannot be resolved, all right? Having said that, therefore, when I look at this set, it is really a Coco that comes off with a freshness. And that freshness, to some extent, outweighs the trace of dynastyism, and the dynastyism involved in it has thus far not shown itself to be as negative as other dynastyisms have shown themselves to be. And I think so far, given his record in the Senate, he does not come across, to me at least, and maybe others, as trying to sell himself as a product. Okay, against Irish. Okay. I don't really think he was against RH because he wants to cater to the so-called Catholic vote. So in that sense, I would think that, okay, we may disagree with him, but I'm looking for candidates who have conviction and who can defend their conviction with some degree of passion and logic. And he seems to be doing it. When I look at the others that are on this list, it's not the same. My problem, for example, with Lauren is that maybe I'd seen her a little too much up close. I did campaign myself, and you probably didn't elect me either. And she was
Sour grapes.
Oh, sour grapes. We were looking for quality votes, and what we needed was quantity votes. To me, that's exactly what I was saying. Someone who presents themselves as a product, maybe because of the long exposure to media, the thought process seems to be guided by what the surveys say and what might be acceptable to the greatest number of voters. And I've seen all sorts of things that she has done that are almost manipulative. And in that sense, it gives me pause, perhaps more than pause, to say that she fits all the criteria. On Hassan, there is an argument put by some that here is a person who has some degree of conviction, etc., etc. He has done almost nothing. I've watched him in the Senate, just sitting there, maybe doodling. I don't know what the hell he's doing there. I've not really seen him stand up to enunciate a point, to be able to logically debate a policy, to introduce something original, to stand up for some kind of conviction. He's either waiting for Senator Enrile to tell him a signal, or it's just not there. He got into the place by what? The accident of history or whatever you want to call it. But he has wasted, I don't know how many years he's been there already, just being there. And I think being there for a senator is not enough. Trillanes, well, maybe there was a time when we could have romanticized that he went against GMA and all that he was incarcerated, etc. And here's another fellow who one would have thought had the potential to be able to show that he had guts. okay, that with his guts, he will be able to go into the Senate and show what guts mean. But he's not done that. And instead, he has, the times he seemed to show guts, he was off tangent. The time he decided not to show guts, he was totally wimpy, or at least floppy all over the place. So it's too bad that's the way he goes. Francis Escudero. I knew his father. He was Secretary of Agriculture at the time I was in the cabinet. And their background being notwithstanding, having served under Marcos and so forth, they're bright people. And his father was a bright person, and so is Cheese. Problem is that he sometimes projects a glibness rather than a brilliance. And there is a difference between being intelligent and being glib. Glibness leads you to shoot from the hip in order to please the moment. And if he can avoid that glibness, some of you might think that his natural intelligence, because I think he's pretty sharp fellow, may outweigh the glibness. Now, ethics, I don't know, I don't want to go into his personal life. I'll leave that to you. But be wary of people that utilize their personal maneuvers in order to raise their level of popularity if they think that that is the way to get more votes. Finally, Alan Peter Cayetano. I also knew his father quite well, actually. Senator Cayetano explained American football to me because we both went to the University of Michigan. He doesn't have, to me, any truly major shortcoming in the criteria. If I were to rank anybody else that I might consider, aside from Coco Pimentel in this list, I might throw him in. Yes, he got into there partly because of the sympathy vote for his father who passed away. So both he and the question that grates in one's mind: do you really need a brother sister act in the Senate? Maybe not. So that's the way I assess these candidates.
Let's give them, except two brothers and sisters and two brothers, etc. Ridiculous. This is that means you think very little of Filipinos.
No.
It's just that they cannot come out because it becomes a family business. Once somebody is in, he gets the pork barrel or whatever, he uses that as the investment funds for the next one. Once the second one is in, they just increased. They just increased the public resources that are open to them, etc. No, I mean the Constitution to me is very clear. They don't want political dynasties. So how are we going to? I mean, for example, I totally disagree with Bobby that Pimentel is a political dynasty. No, to be a political dynasty, there must be simultaneous positions, or one is coming in when the other is going out. In other words, to keep the power continuum. That's to me is a political dynasty. Nene Pimentel was gone by the time Coco Pimentel came in, and I don't see any brothers and sisters getting involved in what is the family business. Nene is completely out of it. He's with I think he's with the Ateneo School of Governance, right? I don't know what that is. Yeah. So that is it. If for some of these people who I have said are not qualified on the grounds of empowerment and ethics, it hurts me because they're good. But we've got to set a principle. We realize exactly what damage political dynasties do. And you have statistical studies to show it, for heaven's sake. You cannot say, well, there are good dynasties and bad. Please, dynasties by very nature is already, is already a no-no as far as the Constitution is concerned. You want to change the Constitution? Go ahead and allow political dynasties. But there must be something to it. When 25 years, the legislators don't want to pass a law because it hurts them. Yes? All right. Do we particularly like the quality of our legislators? Not really. 70%, according to the AIM Ateneo study, 70% in the 15th Congress are political dynasty families. Good God! That's feudalism, that's the modern day feudalism. And you want to it because you say, well, this guy is good. And he's from Ateneo. Excuse me.
Joy, you want to react?
Particularistic interest. We are almost a failed nation. And in that sense, you would want to exact accountability from those who have been in power for the longest time. And these names have been in power from the very start of our nation. And it's about time, I guess, that they give chance to others. So it's about time that we also, and one way of doing that, if you're already in the context of political monopoly that we are now, that we have now, is really to regulate monopoly. Regulate monopoly. Supposedly political dynasty law is a way of regulating monopoly, but because we don't have a law, it's a societal mechanism to regulate a monopoly, which is really to say, if it's coming from a political dynasty, or if that name has been there for the longest time, don't vote for them. It's a societal mechanism. Unfortunately, we don't have a law yet. So we rely on our societal way of regulating monopoly to promote political competition.
The husband goes out and the wife comes in. or the husband goes to the Congress and the wife goes, yeah, enough's enough. So, I'm saying, tama na, sobra na. So we would want to send as clear a message as possible that this is business of dynasty. And this endless excuse about why it's not so bad and it's part of democracy and all that.
At saka sumili. And parang pre-qualification kasi itong ginawa ko basta dynasty ka, hindi ka pwede. And this is what broke my heart. Because Mick Gordon is dynasty. And I voted for him for president in 2010. But, I mean, we've got to make a stand against dynasty. You cannot have, brother Congress, here, mayor, councilor here, etc. Why? Why can't there be more, you allow more people to come in and you'll get more points of view, etc. So, I'm sorry, Gordon is out. Zubiri is out, not only because of the political dynasty, but because of the ethics problem. Zubiri is out. Maceda, well, because of, I'm not particularly enthused about, well, of course he has a reputation, which is in the ethics, which makes him pay in the ethics category, but hey, somebody who wants to review the syntax and who wants to review the RH worker in the Senate, and you may not agree with me, but I am voting for Jambi Madrigal. In other words, I think she passed. Why is that? Because by golly, number one, there is no corruption leveled against her. Number two, wow, she was like a bulldog. I mean, she sank her teeth into the yard and you could not get her out of it. And she took on so many, in other words, sinabi nga dito I don't know, nagkamali ka, nagkaroon kayo ng typographical error. She was not afraid to be popular. Of course you don't want, you want to be popular. She was not afraid to be unpopular. And that earns my respect. She took on, heavens, she took on, once I read it, she took on my lawyer, she took on, maybe she's a little anak, but nobody is perfect. And I would rather have a Jambi Madrigal there than any of these people. So, no, Miriam, hey, I vote for Miriam in a flash. Because really, she makes a lot of sense most of the time. And come up with something like, hey, we're not voting for saints here, but we're voting for people whose pluses overcome their minuses. So, as far as I'm concerned, folks, Magsaysay and Madrigal pass the test.
There's no prostitution in Olongapo. There's only a big entertainment industry with lots of sex. I find that so macho, and I think we also need to look into his, I guess, in his position on women empowerment and women's rights. But he has had good performance as a legislator and also as a secretary of the tourism department. WOW Philippines is still, I think, one of the more successful programs we have in the tourism. I am definitely going to convince everyone to vote for June Magsaysay. I think in 2001 he was running along with Mawini in the same slate. If you look at his track record, he has been really very consistent in terms of pushing for agricultural development. He has authored the Agriculture and Fisheries Modernization Act and has had programs also on agriculture. In his stint, you have not heard of any reports or allegations of corruption or anything. In terms of political dynasty, of course, let's think about it. He did say this is his quote, and I quote it from him: "His political dynasty should not be part of our political culture." So he's also against political dynasty. Maceda by itself is a political dynasty, single-handedly. He's been there for ages. I don't know why he thinks he is still relevant. One famous line from about Maceda that I still remember: he was described as so young and so corrupt, and now he's so old and I guess still so corrupt. Jambi Subiri, political dynasty in Bukidnon, and then his family in Bukidnon. I guess their record should be examined on allegations of supporting mining, being a landlord, and pesticides use of that. But he's a diligent legislator. You can see that he has attended. He has complete attendance. Rarely that you have a legislator has complete attendance, and in the workings, really you see that he studies all the bills that are filed there. But as I said, he's from a political dynasty. He's also a political butterfly. He was for the impeachment of Era Estrada, but now he's running under the coalition being supported by Era Estrada. And he is another minus. He's he's been consistent as supportive of GMA. He's against the impeachment of Mercy and the impeachment of Corona. So for me, that's a minus. And I will not vote for that kind of candidates. And the last one, Madrigal. I also have difficulty really weighing Jambi Madrigal. She's quite all over the place. But during the time when the GM administration was repressive, she was the one who was really leading the campaign among the senators, going against the calibrated preemptive response, all these repressive laws or policies that were implemented by the administration.
Gordon 2. Zubiri 3, Madrigal 4, and Maceda 5. Now, having ranked them, my instinct, if I were to say whom will I go for at all, would boil down to two. That would be Magsaysay and Dick Gordon. Now, the reason I go for Magsaysay is because he has shown an impeccable record in the Senate, not in all three criteria. In fact, even if I throw in the first set of candidates, and if I throw in any other candidates that you're going to be looking at, I'd still say that's the guy. And it's just too bad we didn't think of running him for president, because I think he's clean. He's just like, you know, I mean, he's done his work, like you said, and I can't fault him in almost any criteria. He likes to say that he's representing Mindanao, but the only trace I see of that representation is that somehow his family originated from there. I would have been happier to see a little bit more of that advocacy for Mindanao than he has so far shown. Well, I said, I think he has passed his prime, if you want to put it that way, and I'm not inclined to vote for somebody much older than me. Really, need I say more? All of you know. The only good thing I can tell, if that's good, is that of all the people in this list, he's probably the most politically adept and brilliant if you admire political maneuvering. Javi, the only reason I don't have enough of a flavor of her record to be able to rank her higher than I did, and of course I ended up ranking Gordon up there because of what I said.
Thank you, Secretary. Their constituents, but really the opinions and the values of the voters that put them in office. Should it be, I guess the related question is, should it be a second priority then? Now, if they don't espouse the same sort of values or the same sort of opinions that you think are important for country, or priorities that you think are important for country, provided that they meet these three criteria, is that something that you would recommend that people, candidates, are these the types of candidates that you would go for?
The reason I think this panel is not saying that we're going to vote for a person even if we disagree, because we're looking for character. I'm looking for somebody who can convince me that I might be wrong, and who will be able to show me, not by mustering more rallies and people, whatever, in great numbers, or making bogey points, but showing by logic of their capability to understand the issue and expound on it. I might still end up disagreeing, but I will have respect. And what is lacking now in most of the criteria that I'm seeing in the Senate these days is a dearth of respectability. And that's what I'm looking for.
Thank you, Secretary. Joy?
It's quite difficult for me to support or vote for anyone who would be against some of the critical, my position on some of the critical issues. I think because yes, we are looking for good leaders, and leadership is very important. The person itself, the character of the person, but I feel at the moment there are important agenda, and one way to really make a difference in the country is to see that those you elect will actually be supportive of this critical agenda that we need to push forward. And it's always, I never see it as a dichotomy. I think you can see character and their position on some of the critical issues as one and the same. For example, being pro-women. This is at the same time supportive of the RH bill. It's very difficult, or being inclusive, giving priority to empowerment of the marginalized. having character of fighting for the rights of the marginalized, at the same time supporting RHL. I think these are connected issues and connected values that I should be able to see in the candidate.
Thank you, Joy.
He's my number one candidate. Here's the situation. If the difference of opinion is an honest difference of opinion, if they are sincere, I have no problem, because I don't have the monopoly on the right answer or the right stand. So it's, as Bobby said, can convince, no problem. What I will not accept is a vote that is taken because, and you know that they have voted for a bill, not because of any sincere conviction, but because they have been bought. And it is so clear, at least as far as I am concerned. No intelligent person is going to vote against that sin tax bill. And so when you think that an intelligent person has voted against that sin tax bill, when you know that person, then you suspect that there are ulterior motives, and so you lose respect. And so I will not vote for that person, but not simply because he was against it, but what is the reason why he or she was against it. That's how I analyze. My goodness. And that's why I'm going to leave it.
The last member of the second panel, no less distinguished, former administrator of the Sugar Regulatory Administration, former governor of the province of Negros Occidental, and former presidential advisor for the Western Visayas, Governor Rafael Coscuela. So the second panel will be reviewing the congressmen or the representatives from the House who want a seat in the Senate, as well as the neophytes seeking a seat in the Senate. So,
what do I benchmark them against? And I started thinking about Senators Pepe Chocno, Raul Manglapos, Salonga, and I said, where are these guys? You know? And when I looked at the list, I said, I think I'm going to have a problem. My standards might have been too high when I started. So my first confession is that I had to bring down my standards a bit, because I couldn't benchmark against the outstanding senators that we had before. We just don't have them anymore. Okay, but having said that, we're looking at a group that we cannot even measure in terms of how they have performed in the Senate, because simply they haven't been senators yet. But we do have a group that are congressmen, and we can try doing it from there, no? But very quickly, my own assessment of the members of the lower house who are running for senator now is that only one passes, and that is Sani Angara. Except, again, the dynasty. So, when we started talking about dynasties being a basis for disqualification, sabi ko, well, there goes my one and only. But, you know, while I do agree about the need to rid Philippine politics of dynasties, the reality is that we're not going to be rid of them for quite a while. They're going to be there, but we do need to start somewhere. But that means developing a constituency that will prevent the coming in or the perpetuation of political dynasties. And I hope nobody throws a stone at me. I think we do not have that constituency yet. There are too many Filipino voters who still look for money, who are still entertained, and on the basis of how good the entertainment is, they vote for the candidate. So until we have a constituency that really decides to go against political dynasties, I guess we'll have to live with it for a while. Again, Sani Angara passes my criteria except for that aspect about dynasties. No? But to me, the other things that I had to seriously consider was, number one, competence. I have no doubt that Sani Angara is competent. Track record in the lower house, I have no doubt that he's done well. And therefore, you just need to see what does he intend to do if he's in the Senate. And therefore, I looked at his platform and I was very happy to see that his main platform really is to promote education reform, which is, I think, one of the core issues affecting this country. If we don't have good education for the large number of children, we're not going to move beyond what we are now. No? So because he is pushing for education reform and because he's competent, he's done well in the lower house, I vote for him. Teddy Casino, I have problems with because, well, one, he's too concerned about issues, but not about what can be done for, to move the country forward. I mean, I guess being an activist, that's his nature. And he's being associated with the left, and he's having socialistic leanings, etc. In this country, it's very easy for a politician to say, I'm going to provide all the assistance needed by the poor and the needy, etc. But having come from politics myself, there's only, a point where you can be effective, beyond which you start promoting mendicancy and dependence. And I've been looking at the candidates, and I was hoping I would see candidates who would say, I want to put a stop to the mendicancy and the dependence on government. I want to see people become more self-reliant. And that's why education is so important. So, without going into too much detail, Casino just doesn't pass for me. Riza also is too issue-oriented. And therefore, when you ask yourself, if she becomes a senator, is there anything positive she's going to do, to talk about? Or is it going to be just issues? And that brings us again to the question, what is a senator supposed to be? What is a senator supposed to do? I saw only one candidate who said she would like, I think it's a she would like to exercise the Senate's function of oversight. And I think the lower house and the Senate have failed miserably in exercising their oversight functions. There's so many things that need to be reviewed in terms of how the executive department is implementing laws, but no oversight functions have been performed. So I'm not sure that Riza is competent to be in the Senate. I don't see a track record that convinces me that she will do well as a senator. JP Ejercito is accomplished as a mayor. He's a TOYM awardee. I guess from the point of view of competence and track record, you can say, yeah, I mean, it's good, no? But again, if you ask, what will he do in the Senate? And what kind of political agenda will he bring? Well, again, the problem of dynasty. But if you look at his program of government, what he proposes to pursue, he's the only one who said Mindanao development. Maybe that's because of the influence of his father. And then regional education hubs. And also what's important, he wants to review and realign the 4Ps program. Which to me, again, is counterproductive because it merely encourages mendicancy and dependence. So I have mixed feelings about JB. Again, because of the dynasty issue. Mitos Magsaysay. nothing in her record tells me that I should even consider her. Cynthia Villar, she's competent, she knows how to get things done, but she belongs to a dynasty, and of course she does have famous vested interests at play, and if she goes to the Senate, who's to say that there won't be another C5? C6. So while I personally like Cynthia because of her advocacy for women, children, and family, I'm worried about this dynasty thing. It's such a strong dynasty in such a small place. Isn't there anyone else in their district? So I don't want to pass her on that basis. Jackie and Rile, I don't want to comment anymore. I may just create new enemies. Neophytes later, no? So that's it. So those are the 6. Only one for me is good enough for the Senate.
Of the 7 congresspersons aspiring to be senators, as far as I'm concerned, only 2 passed the criteria, and that is Teddy Casino and Lisa Ontiveros. And Teddy Casino, I may not agree with a lot of what he does, but I cannot disagree, congressperson. And the same with Lisa Ontiveros. My goodness, this girl has she's not glib. She's very articulate, and she knows what she's talking about all the time, as far as I am concerned. And she knows what she's very concerned with women's issues. She's very concerned with poverty. She's concerned with all the right things. And for that, I'm going to give both of them passing. Promoting pro-poor policies and programs, that's both Lisa and Teddy. Understands, consults, and represents the interests of marginalized. My goodness, we're full. Inspired trust, unity, and hope? Well, maybe not, but 2 out of 3 is pretty good. Solid platform, program, position, and important issues? Solid. I may not agree with what their issues are, but solid. Proven work ethic, political will and results? Yes. And education, work, and leadership experience. As far as ethical, I have not heard one single charge against either Casino or Ontiveros, so that's. Now, the other five are all political dynasties, all of them. But, as Cheche knows, I'm very, very close to Ed Angara. But, you're talking about performance. There is this issue called the Aurora the APECO. All right? My goodness gracious. There's problems there, folks. There is tremendous problems there, and you cannot remove Sani Angara from that situation. I'm sorry. And I mean, these are obviously one of the charges against APECO was that there was no consultation, no representing the interests of the marginalized sectors. And that, that is the case. And as far as Sani Angara is concerned, lovely boy. Absolutely. Extremely bright. On the other hand, he was chair of the Education Committee of the House for a long time, and I don't see any improvement. We're still a country in crisis as far as education is concerned. So I'm not sure about the performance. And that goes the same way for Cynthia Villar, and I think she got very angry with me because I pointed out that when she was chair, she overturned the decision of the Commission on Higher Education to close down several nursing schools, and she took the position of the nursing school owners. Oh boy, she's in very hot water with the nurses now, and. So all of them, J.D. Ejercito, great point, etc. But has anybody figured out why he has so much he has such fantastic net worth. And I asked him the question, how can you have such net worth, such a, I think 90, 100 million pesos net worth? How can you have such a fantastic net worth when you were mayor all this time? That's a legitimate question, right? And my goodness, he says right after he was college, he went into business. With what? What do I mean by net worth? I think he owns 2 or 3, what do you call it? No. Gas stations. I called up Shell and I said, how much does a gas station cost? In other words, what's the investment required? You know, if it's in the Metro Manila area, up to 75 million. Outside is 15 million. Saan man nakakuha dyan? At saka, Jollibee, malaki yung prangkisa na yun. Saan nakuha yun? And I still haven't gotten the answer to it. So these are legitimate questions. These are not political harangues or, you know, I don't like him because he's Erap. I think Erap is a fantastic person. I'm never going to vote for him. But, you know, you put him with Erap and talagang warmth and you know, because he really, nakukuhaan loob mo. Ganon. But as I said, that his personality is we're talking issues. And I totally disagree with Lito that if you're an issues-oriented person, you should not be in the Senate. You have to be issues-oriented. You cannot be personalities-oriented. You've got to look at the issue with absolute objectivity, look at the costs and benefits, and forget whoever it was that proposed the issue anyway. If the devil tells you to go to church every day, are you going to not go to church every day? Of course not. Diba? It depends on what the devil says. Of course, the devil will never tell you not to go to church. So, that's it. 2 of them, pass. All the rest fail, not only on the dynasty situation, but on the competence and the empowerment, not to mention ethical.
So thank you.
2, maybe 2.5. 2. Yeah, I was in Puerto Princesa just 2 or 3 months ago, and I like what I saw. I don't know whether it was self-serving, but the report was that 52% forest cover when Hagedorn started, and it's now 72%. I think that's quite a feat to be able to increase the forest cover of a place. I was talking to somebody just the other day, and he said they have more trees in Puerto Princesa than outside the city boundaries, which means that he really was able to increase the cover in that part of Palawan. So I kind of like him because of what he has done in Puerto Princesa, and of course the ecotourism, progress in that area. The other one is, and I'd like to give her a chance, is Grace Pole Manzares. Apparently has done a very good job at the MPRCB. And there are no negatives about her. His protection of children's rights, good governance, poverty alleviation. So she's looking at the right things. And so he's the other candidate that passes the grade. I said 2.5 because I'm still debating with myself whether to include Bam Aquino or not. And I admired his having gone to an NGO where he could have joined any big corporation with his educational record. Summa cum laude, valedictorian, but he chose to join an NGO. And so I admire that part of him. I don't know him personally, but of course, again, this political dynasty issue
um, you know, is a problem. So, kuha pa ako doon, kaya 2.5. Hindi pa ako sure. Binay. I have nothing to say. I have nothing to say about there. JC De Los Reyes. If you take a look at his record, he was a councilor before. He seems to be pushing the right issues, and I agree with his platform: prohibition of political dynasties, abolition of the pork barrel system, legislated gun control, passage of the Freedom of Information Bill. Of course, I have a different position regarding the RH bill. He's got everything. I feel very uncomfortable when he ran for the presidency in the last elections. I feel very uncomfortable with that. A young person, a councilor, with the only experience is that he was councilor in Olongapo, vying for the presidency when maybe he should have gone to Congress first. But because he's kapatiran, maybe I still might vote for him. 3.5 na. 2 and 2 halves. So that makes 3. Well, Tinko Juanco, this is the last one, just like me, I have nothing to say about that. So, really.
Okay, Winnie?
Okay. I agree with Gus with respect to Ed Hagedorn. What he forgot to say is that what he did not say, which I want to add to the equation, is that this man fought the mining interests tooth and nail. And when I first went to Palawan, and they were all the media was trying to get me to say, wow, this guy is preventing mining from taking off, and he said, it's a very important industry. And I said, he's mining tourism, and that's an even better industry than your industrial, than mining per se. But it took a lot of courage and a lot of guts to stand up to the business sector and to the government sector who was in favor. And Puerto Princesa is the best illustration of his success. I am definitely passing Grace Paul Yamansales. She's her NGO credentials are excellent. She's been with the Reform, COMELEC, and elections movement. She has been a very good spokesperson for this, and she did a good job in the movie industry, and she has no corruption. So as far as and she's of course pro-women, so as far as effective, empowering, and ethical, she passes. Now, Gus's 1/2 is my 1. I'm talking about JC Reyes. And why do I think JC Reyes should be in that Senate? My God, look at this, and he fights for it, huh? He's talking about political dynasties. I do not include him in the Gordon political dynasty, although he is Dick Gordon's nephew, because he ran against Dick Gordon. He ran against Dick Gordon for president. He's running against Dick Gordon for the Senate. You gotta give him A for effort. And although he is talagang Katoliko Cerrado, and he's going to be, that's fine. You need people like that, and I'm not sure he's going to be able to argue very well, but his heart is in the right place. He is sincere. He is sincere. I mean, not for any political. He really believes in it, and I like people who have the courage of their convictions, and that's why he is free. Those three paths, as far as I'm concerned. Nancy Binay, that is your epitome of dynasty. It's nadir. Why? Because when her father was asked, what are the qualifications, how come? And all he said was, she's my daughter. That's it. That's it. And that's really it. I mean, there's nothing else. We're not even going to discuss it, but there are dynasties, and I agree that there are dynasties and dynasties. But on the whole, these dynasties have a negative effect on the Philippines, and we've got to stop it. We have to, and it hurts, but you've got to take that medicine in order to cure what is ailing our country. Sino pa ba? Tintin Cojuangco is not the same, excuse me, as Nancy Binay. Tintin Cojuangco is qualified. She was head of the Philippine Police Academy. She has been very, very active in Mindanao. So please do not put her in the same. Wag naman. She really has, and she has a PhD in she has 2 PhD degrees. That's how interested she is in learning. Now people say that she paid somebody to do her thesis until that is proven to me, because she was able to defend it. You cannot defend the thesis that you did not write yourself. So okay. However, that's the what do you call it? The dynasty problem. And same thing with Bam Aquino. All I ask is you ask yourselves, if President Pinoy was not president, would Bam Aquino have made it to the Senate slate? Do I hear a yes? No, I don't hear a yes. I rest my case. Thank you.
Minutes just on one road, Makati. I was reviewing the platforms, and I found the platform of J.C. de los Reyes. Something that appears to strike at the heart of many of our major concerns against political dynasties, abolition of the pork barrel system, gun control. This guy struck me as having guts. He may not be realistic, but I think it's worth a try. No? So I'm going to vote for him, simply because he stands for all these vital issues that nobody seems to really care about. Ed Hagedorn, I actually like. He was a very effective chief executive, and the observation about what is done with the environment. I was in Puerto Princesa when Ed Hagedorn was a hoodlum. And the Puerto Princesa then and the Puerto Princesa now is very, very different. I was there a few weeks ago, and I said, my God, it's a transformation. And it takes a special kind of person to transform a whole city, particularly the largest city in the country. And of course, one of the reasons for that is because Ed Hagedorn was in control of all the vices in the city. So he said, that's it, wala na, umarap. No, he was in many things. And, well, I would be voting for him, except for the fact that somebody told me his wife is now running for mayor. And his brother is running for congressman. So sabi ko, what is it? Why don't you want to give up? The thinking might be, if I give Puerto Princesa to somebody else, baka mawala. But again, winning said, bakit wala na bang ibang marunong dyan?
I'm sorry, I did not know that. Because when I was talking to him, his wife was totally out of politics.
convince the wife, or the wife was able to convince him that they needed to run. So that's the problem with Ed Hagedorn. No? But he's effective, he has an excellent track record, he has a good agenda, except yun lang, no? Ingay, enough said. Yeah. Bam Aquino also, I wanted to vote for him, no? But aren't there enough Aquinos already? But I admire his record. I just wish that, you know, he is not going to look like a parang hatchet man ng presidente when he's in the Senate. Because he does stand a good chance of winning. And I hope he will remember the principles of his uncle and not be a hatchet man simply because the president says do this, you do it. No? Maybe he's better than that. Grace Poe I also like. She's a very sensible person.
Yes.
Problema ko lang is I don't know what her track record is. I mean, parang there's not enough to measure her by, but I'm willing to trust her. The other problem, of course, ang kampanya niya parang, you know, she's just riding on the FPJ, you know, mystique or whatever. Surely there must be more to Grace Poe than FPJ. I know somewhere inside her there's that potential. So I'm willing to take a chance on Grace Poe simply because she sounds so sensible. She'll probably be the voice of common sense in the Senate. I've never seen her get hysterical. Unlike a few others there. Ting Ting, I sympathize with her simply because she was also a former governor. And I know she's competent, she's well educated, but in the back of my mind is still this question about the kamag-anak, the kuwangkuting and the kamag-anaks, and how they were able to convert this family name into whatever they have now. So I'm medyo alanganin. But I do want to vote for JC, and I want to give Grace Poe a chance. Did I mention anyone else? Wala na.
That's it. Thank you. Thank you very much, Governor Nico. Everyone, let's please give our the highest number of votes is Risa Ontiveros. Number 2 is Richard Gordon. Number 3 is June Magsaysay. Number 4 is Bam Aquino. Number 5 is Sunny Angara. Number 6 is Ed Hagedorn. Number 7. Okay, there are 2 number 6s. Ed Hagedorn and Coco Pimentel. Number 8 is Teddy Casino. Number 9 is Alan Peter Cayetano. Number 10 is Cheese Escudero. Number 11 is Lauren Legarda. And number 12 is Grace Poe. Okay, so it's number 1. Risa is number 1. Okay, so before I send you off into refreshments, we would like, on behalf of the Movement for Good Governance, we would like to thank our other partners, Youth Vote Philippines.
Disciplinary instrument because you are forced to rate, and I think you should, when you rate, just as you know, an intellectual exercise, please give the reasons why, and then you can see. Sometimes the reasons may be totally ridiculous, and then you will check, yeah, but you will not know it until you write it down. So please, I recommend this highly. If you were my students, it would be a requirement, but you are not my students.
Votes have come out. I mean, we have the before and after, and we will wonder why the votes may have changed, and if they see the criteria.
We don't know if the votes have changed. We're still waiting.
Yeah.
We're still voting.
But you know, first of all, it is fascinating, this exercise. And first of all, I will make an honest prediction, the votes will change. And I myself changed a few votes, but I'm just saying we need a person who's really good at mining this thing so that it will spread, because it's really so rich, the insights are so rich. Whether it's a column or Facebook or whatever, it is so rich. So I'd like to challenge Chair Willie Monzon. He's not listening, so I can challenge her. Actually, listen, I don't dare challenge her. But I would like to say that this is so fantastic. I want to thank you, but I'd like it to be spread.
Thank you very
Coco Pimentel. Number 3, Risa Ontiveros. Number 4, JC De Los Reyes. Number 5, Dick Gordon. Number 6, Ed Hagedorn. 7, Grace Poe. 8, Teddy Casino. 9, Sonny Angara. 10, Bam Aquino. 11, Jambi Madrigal. 12, Cheese Escudero. And 13 was Alan Cayetano.
Minawala ko the first. Si Cayetano po nawala, pati si Legarza nawala po. Santos and De Los Reyes and Jambi. Si Cayetano po and